Welcome. This is App of the Week number 3. Well, actually, this is not technically an app, but an automation, but a very important one, as it actually works for one of my real clients and helps him save hundreds of hours per month on the repetitive menial task of invoice processing. I'm going to show you how I built this, what workflow I used, what software I used, and how the whole process looks like. And if you want to, you can actually put a front end on it and you can call it an app. So I will leave that up to you. But let's see how the workflow looks like.
Alright guys, so just gonna quickly walk you through the workflow, how it looks like. So I'll just zoom in right here. So we're gonna integrate it into a Telegram bot that anyone or whoever is responsible for invoice processing can access it through their Telegram app, either through their phone or their desktop. And we're going to set up authorization after that. So only the authorized personnel by the business can access this bot. And just FYI guys, this is an actual automation working with a real client that I have worked with, and they're actually using it into their business, and it saves them so much painful work, so much repetitive menial work. And of course, it's going to be a little bit more customized for every business that we work with, but this is kind of the basic structure that works really well. Have error handling and have checks in place to make sure it doesn't upload the wrong information into the database. So yeah, it's actual automation working with a real client, just FYI. Anyway, so we'll start with the Telegram message. Whenever someone sends it a message or an image, it's going to authorize that user. If it's authorized, it will check the file type. If it was just a text message or they send an image or a PDF of an invoice. If it's invalid type, it will give an error response and go back to the auth check. It will say that, file type not valid. Otherwise, the automation will go ahead. It will determine if it's a PDF or an image. Then it will take it to a document analysis, which we are going to either use OpenAI's Vision model or we're going to be using an OCR model, depending on which one ends up working well. So for these automations, I have found out that OCR works much better than OpenAI's Vision models. The best thing would be to fine-tune an image model to handle invoices, but that would be probably overkill. And this client specifically wants to use OpenAI's image processing. So we are building it for him according to his specifications, but we will share the results with him. If it doesn't work well, then we will suggest him to use OCR instead. Anyway, moving ahead. OpenAI's Vision analysis or document analysis will get the data, the required data, which the client wants, like the date of the invoice, the number, the total payment, the payment method, and a bunch of other details that they want to get from the invoices they receive. And they will then display those details to whoever is the person interacting with this bot. Then once that person validates that, okay, the fetched details are correct, it will move ahead. So it will be like a yes or no question to them. If they say no, it's incorrect, it will go back, error response. And actually this is going to be corrected. So it will go back again. It will analyze it again, and it will try to check with them again if it got the details correct. So this is the error handling where handling where it's not able to fetch the correct data. And if it fetches the correct data, if the person replies yes, then it's going to go ahead. It's going to get the user confirmation. It's going to go ahead. It's going to ask for the payment method that the client is using to pay for that invoice. So this is what the client specifically wants. So this is a real world business use case, guys. So this is how it works. This is what most people on YouTube won't tell you, because they're building just out of their own minds what an invoice processing agent would look like. But in an actual world, this is how it looks like. So then it's going to ask what method did they use to pay. It's going to give them 3 options, which our client has specified. So it's going to be either card, or it's going to be a couple of other options which they have specified. And then the user will answer that question, who knows how the payment was handled. and all the data combined with the extracted data in the previous phase will be put on to a specific Google Sheet or a Dropbox or Airtable, whichever one the customer prefers. In this case, the client prefers Google Sheets. So their invoice Google Sheets will kind of fetch, will take in all the data, create a row in it, and put all the data there. And also after that, the invoice file will then be uploaded to a Google Drive folder that is specifically created by this client to store all their invoices. And once all of this is done successfully, the user will receive a success message on their Telegram bot, and that will be our whole invoice processing workflow. Alright guys, so I built this using n8n, and I was just testing it right now. So currently I built it with two workflows. I separated it into two. So one is our invoice assistant, which does the beginning part of the workflow, and the second one is kind of the verification and payment processing as well, which does the kind of last part of this workflow. This approach while building was good to me, but when testing it I discovered a major flaw with it. So in the end I will end up correcting it and kind of combining this workflow into the original one and just have one workflow. But I will show you how it works currently with a real invoice given to it. So we're going to put it into test workflow, and now I'm going to use my phone and I'm going to use Telegram on that, so you can see it on the side of the screen. So I'm going to upload this file now, and now it's processing through our workflow. It recognizes its image file, so it took it down this pipeline, extracted some information off of it, stored it in a temporary Google Sheet, and now it will go to our second workflow. So I will put it to test, and as you can see in the Telegram messages, you can see we have now, it has given us the extracted information for verification. So now we have to kind of just look over an invoice, check if everything is correct, and then if it's correct, click yes. If it's not, click no. So I'm just going to display that file to you side by side as well, so it's clear that we are fetching the correct data. So here is our invoice. So as you can see, date over here 21st November 2024, which is correct. Our invoice number 2135109 is correct, and then we will go back to our supplier, which is the name is correct. Then we will go to our net amount, which will be this one without the tax, which is correct, 360.94, correct to the decimal point. The next one will be our tax. So it got the tax, 46.92, correct. The next one will be the grand total, the total amount, 407.86, and correct. And it gave the category automotive maintenance, which is correct as well. So looks like it's fetched everything 100% correct without any mistakes. So that's what we want. Okay, after that, so I'm gonna click here, correct. And when I do that, our second workflow, as you can see on the screen, will trigger. So here, and it will then ask me what's the method of payment the client used. So this is for a real world scenario for a business where the client paid this invoice. So again, we're gonna use first one maybe, and then it will run through this workflow. It will upload this data with the payment method to a Google Sheet in the database, as well as over here it will upload that file to another database in the Google Drive as well. And then as you see on the screen, we have received messages that data successfully added to Google Sheet and file successfully added to database. Now here we can see our Google Drive right here, and this is the file. Now of course you can rename it and choose the name however you want to. For example, ideally it would be the name of the company, the date, and maybe some other parameter as well, whatever you your company prefers. And you can see right here in our invoice database Excel sheet, it's been updated and everything is correct. So this is to demonstrate, guys, that this system can work very well, and it can take so much manual entry and manual moving of files into the database, manually typing the parameters. And if you have a large number of invoices coming in and out, like a lot of medium and big sized companies do, this can save you hours, dozens of hours per week or per month, which converts to dollars. So it's so much saving of hours as well as money if you implement a system like this. And yeah, now I'm going to show you what mistake or what big error that this system has that I realized after building it, because I built it in 2 workflows. So what happened was, when we said, so this has trigger, which triggers when we receive a message in Telegram. So does this one. This triggers when we receive a callback from Telegram, which is when I'm pressing the buttons for, verifying the information our first workflow fetched, and, inputting the payment method. So when I'm having these both triggers, both workflows turned on at the same time, it's kind of unable to work, and it's kind of getting confused as to which trigger or which trigger it's receiving. It doesn't know what it's receiving from Telegram, right? So sometimes one of the workflow is not getting triggered and the other one is not getting triggered, and I'm having trouble while I was testing it. So I figured out that's a mistake to kind of have separate workflows and then, have triggers for the same bot. 2 separate triggers is not a good thing to implement. It's not it should not be implemented this way. So you should keep it one workflow with 1 trigger and then build everything in here. So I'm going to move this into here for our final version, but I just wanted to show you how it works. And I will walk you through a little bit of how this workflow works as well. So first one, we receive a trigger when we receive a message through Telegram, which usually is a file attached of the invoice. It can be either PDF, it can be an image file, or if someone talks to our bot in text, then the next node is a code node, which kind of categorizes if it is a document, if it is a text message, or if it is someone who is not authorized. So in this node, we have also set up authorizations. So over here, we have set up our allowed users. So this ID of the user is allowed, and you can add 2 or 3 more depending on whoever in your organization or business should be given access to the system, and only those users would be authorized through this code node. Then we will go to the switch, which switches it between the authorization, the processed document, or the text message. So if it's a text message, this is going to go down this path and it's going to receive, please give me a document. And if it's a document, then it's going to go down our path and it's going to go through the normal processing pipeline. And the third one, if the user is unauthorized, it's going to say, sorry, you're not authorized to use this service. Then moving on to our pipeline, once we have the user has been authorized and we have received a PDF file. Now this will take in that PDF file, and here this node will kind of download that file, and then we have another custom coded node which will convert this file in another format so that it can be processed later on. We will see. So it needs to be converted. It needs to have a code in there to handle both an image and a PDF files. So it can kind of convert it to, formats that our different pipelines can access. So this pipeline is for images. This pipeline is for PDF files. So this node handles and converts the file in a way that it can be handled by both these pipelines. And in the middle, we have a switch node, which switches our workflow based on what kind of file it is. So if it's a text, I was supposed to write PDF here, but I did text during build. So if it's a text, it will go down this node. If it's a image, it will go down the vision node. So over here is a text node, which takes this pipeline. This is the vision pipeline. So how they work, I will quickly walk you through. So for the text pipeline, we are using the PDF. We are uploading it into an OpenAI RAG system, Retrieval Augmented Generation. And we are then querying an assistant. We are creating a new assistant, which can then query that PDF file, get the information out of it. So I have given it a detailed system prompt. So it's supposed to get all the information from it, which we require from the invoice. Then we will message this assistant, and then it will extract all this information. And then we have a custom code node again, which will format this information into a message. This message will then be sent to our Telegram and will display on our interface, as you saw, which we can interact with. And this OpenAI node deletes this assistant. So this assistant is only needed for this execution. After that, it gets deleted. So you don't have your OpenAI platform filled up with hundreds of assistants because you ran this workflow 100 times. So this takes care of that. And now I will show you the image pipeline. So if it's an image file, this code will transform it to be processed by our pipeline, and then the switch will recognize it, will send it down this path, and our OpenAI node will use a vision model here, which will extract all the information from it which we require. And in the code node, we convert that information, as you can see, to this message that can be sent to the Telegram to the user via Telegram to be verified. So again, the same Telegram node it's coming into, and it will send this text message, and it will ask the user if it's correct or not. If they get the verification, that will be later. And what it will also do is it will store all this information into a Google Sheet, a temporary Google Sheet that will just store this information for as long as this workflow is running. After that, it gets deleted as well. So it's just a temporary storage. So after this workflow, we move on to this workflow. So what this workflow does, it has a Telegram callback trigger. A callback trigger is the one when you press the buttons in the Telegram. For example, this bot sends a message to verify the data is extracted from the invoice, and it asks the user if that's correct or not. It gives you two buttons, yes or no. When you press those buttons, this trigger will be notified or will be hit. So that's what the callback trigger is. And once it receives input from the user, it triggers, it goes through this code node, which again takes different paths based on different input we get. So if we verify yes, it will take us down our pipeline. If it's no, it will please send the document again for reprocessing. We can also do that, we can chain the loop here. So if they say no, we can reprocess again and ask them again if it's correct or not. Whatever you want to do. After that, if it's correct, user says yes. If we move on to the switch. Now, we are handling multiple things here. So the first thing for what our client wanted was to ask the user again for the payment options. So essentially, the bot has to now send a message again back to the user to ask, okay, what kind of payment method did this client use to pay for this invoice? So this Telegram node does that. So it kind of gives them all these buttons, as you can see here, to select different payment options. So this one is, I think, credit card or cash or BOC or a bunch of options to select from. And again, the user selects one of those buttons. This callback trigger is again hit, it's triggered, and we go down again this pipeline. Then the custom code node, once again, now it verifies that, okay, this time I have to go through this because the payment has been selected. So that's why it's so important to have this custom code node. And once the payment has been selected, the code node kind of gives us the output for that. So for the type, it says payment selected now, and this switch node we have here knows that the payment has been selected. And after that, this gives us the output like this with the payment method. And then we move down this path. So this path, what it does, again, in the previous workflow, if you remember, we saved the data in a Google Sheet. So this time we retrieve that data, we read the Google Sheet, and we go down two paths again. So first path we go down is to update this data into the database, which in this case is our Google Sheets as well. The second path is to upload that data into the Google Drive or whatever database the user or the business chooses to upload it to, which in this case is Google Drive. Could be Airtable, could be a custom database, could be anything, could be Dropbox or anything, whatever the business wants. So again, so over here, this custom code node, what it does is, so this is the Google database update. So we are updating the files into the Google Sheets, updating the data into the Google Sheets, right? So this, what this custom code node does, it receives the data from the Google Sheet we just read, it adds the payment method to that, and it creates our final data that has to be added now. And this Google Sheet node adds all that data, as you can see right here. It separates it into multiple different sections, and then that is added to our different columns of the Google Sheet, and it's mapped all right here. After that, we have a delete node. And what this does, guys, is remember the Google Sheet we created in the first workflow? So that temporary storage gets deleted. So we don't need to store the data in the temporary sheet, right? We are storing it in the database after it's been verified. So that is just for storing before the data was verified. So that's a temporary data. So we don't need it. We delete it. Then we send a success message to the user that data successfully added to Google Sheets. And that's the end of this pipeline. Below the upload data pipeline, what it does, again, we have a Telegram trigger. So we download the file now that we got in the previous workflow. We download that here. And then in this Google Drives node here we have, it can be any database node you have, whichever one the business or whoever this system is for prefers. It can be that node. What you will do here is it receives that file from the Telegram that it downloaded, and it creates a custom file name. Now this file name, I haven't configured it yet. It can be something like invoice. After that, the name of the company or the supplier, you know, whoever the invoice is for, and after that the date. So that would be kind of, you know, make it easier and better to organize and later search as well. So we will kind of configure that in here. So it names each and every invoice according to their data, and then it will create the file in the database, this Google Drive node. As you can see, it did here a bunch of files, and after that it will send a message again, which will be file successfully added to database. So right now this is my system that's working very well, but a bunch of improvements and bunch of polishing can be done. For example, we can combine these and put a condition when both of them are, you know, satisfied, then send a message that okay, everything's been executed, instead of sending two messages. Or the biggest improvement we have to do is to make it work correctly is to combine both of these, which I found out after building and testing them that they were not working well together separately, because the triggers are having issues because we have two triggers for the same bot running at the same time. So that's not a good practice, and this is a good learning experience for me. And if some of you are watching, avoid using two separate triggers for one bot running at the same time. It causes issues, especially for Telegram bots. So I'm going to combine these, which is not hard at all. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take this workflow, and we're going to have to put we're going to have to now get rid of the callbacks. We will just interact with users through like typing back and forth messages. So for yes and no, they will select Y or N, and the other ones, the payment option, they can select A, B, C, D, and that will trigger this node again when these are combined. And then we will kind of change all this workflow to work with that. But yeah, so anyway, as you saw in the demo, this system worked pretty well. We extracted the data to 100% accuracy, and I have tested it with other invoices as well, and it seems to be working very, very well. Most of the times I don't have to, input no when the agent asks if the data is correct. So that's a very good sign, and it can be further improved if we add a couple of inferences over here, maybe to verify this invoice again. That can take it to 100% accuracy as well. But for now, I think this demo did it justice, and we have been successfully able to satisfy the client's requirements and build a system that works. We only have to combine these two nodes together and get it to work that way, so it's much more reliable. But yeah, so that was my demo and explanation and a walkthrough of how this agent works. You can build this for yourself as well in n8n. If you spend a bit of time, do a bit of experimentation, and just trial and error. For these custom coded nodes, if you're asking, you should always take in help of a LLM to kind of configure them as how you want them. Claude 3.5 Sonnet would be my recommendation. It is unbelievably good with code. Don't use ChatGPT. I don't think it will. You'll have to go through a lot of back and forth. So use Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It will save you a lot of pain. And yeah, I hope you build something like this for yourself. Maybe a much more improved version. And if you like this video, if you learned anything from it, feel free to let me know in the comments. And if you want to work with me, or if you want an invoice agent like this built for yourself, for your personal use, for your business, feel free to get in touch with me with the calendar link below, and we can definitely build something for you together. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.